What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Goddess Z, and I'm here with another podcast episode. And I hope everybody's been taking care of themselves, mind, body, and spirit, because if either one of those things are out of balance, then we are out of balance, okay? I always say that at the beginning of every podcast episode because it's so important for us to try to make sure that we're consciously taking care of our physical body, our mental body, as well as our spiritual body. Okay, so let me go ahead and get that business out of the way. If you are new to this podcast, welcome. You are in the right place. If you like all things holistic and spiritual, if you like energy healing, talking about healing generational trauma, metaphysics, all different sorts of topics that pertain to helping you with that mind, body, spirit connection, be sure to hit that follow and that subscribe button so that you don't miss when I drop a new podcast episode. And I am bringing guests to you in this podcast episode on the first and the third Friday of every month. But I also peekaboo in periodically with my own personal experience and different downloads that I receive for you guys as well. So be sure to go ahead and follow me and check out that description so that you know where to follow me as well. And if you are coming back, welcome back, family. I appreciate you. I'm so glad you guys are hanging tough and sticking with me. And I hope that you are finding some useful information from these podcast episodes to integrate into your mind, body, spirit integration. Okay, so if you know me and if you don't know me, your girl's got to get some business out of the way first because once we get into this conversation today, we're not stopping. We're going to another dimension. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this business out of the way. First and foremost, you can find me all over social media at Holistic and Spiritual AF, and that is and spelled out. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, as well as Substack. I have a newsletter slash blog slash journal over there if you like to read, and I put different types of content out on each of those platforms. So be sure to check out that description. I'll have all that information down in the bottom, as well as I'll have information on ways that you can find my guests as well so that you can follow them, check out what they're doing. They're doing some amazing things in the community. So with that being said, let's see, what updates do we have? Oh, yes, I do have another masterclass that's coming up November. That's going to be either the 15th or the 17th. It's the third Wednesday of the month. And that's going to be a journey through the chakras. And we're going to be talking about balancing the chakras, the importance of the chakras, and how they affect our lives in a myriad of different ways. So you definitely want to check that out. That is going to be a free masterclass as well. I just recently did the Raise Your Frequency in September, and that was awesome, phenomenal. We're manifesting great things over there, so you don't want to miss that either. All right, now let me go ahead and introduce my guest to you. She is a very special young sis, and she's doing some amazing things already in the community. And honestly, it was an honor to interview her because she was sharing so raw and so truthful and honest about her spiritual awakening, as well as how she has begun to start to heal generational trauma in her family, as well as with her children. And you know, I'm all about that life. And her name is Renee Jennings, aka the Spiritual God Fairy. You can find her on Instagram, and she also has an up and coming podcast as well. So be sure to check that description out. Renee is an intuitive healer. She uses the realm of herbalism, alchemy, tarot, and divine guidance to assist the collective with healing mind, body, heart, and soul. And her purpose is to help people heal by standing in their truth. So she truly is a divine goddess in the making. And like I said, this was a really powerful episode, and I really enjoyed being able to sit down and talk with her. And I hope you'll enjoy this conversation as well. So this is a video podcast. So be sure to, if you're on YouTube, check it out, the video as well. And let's go ahead without further ado and get into the conversation. All right. Thank you so much, Renee, the spiritual God fairy, for agreeing to join me today. I'm really excited to talk to you. Just talking to you briefly before we started the podcast. I know this is going to be another fire podcast. You know, I know that you are connected to your spirit team. You're spiritual. You're healing. You know, you're going through the work that's necessary before we go out there and start, you know, doing and expressing all our gifts and abilities. I tell people all the time the healing starts within, and you're doing that work. So let's go ahead and get into it. I want to talk a little bit about you. You know, tell me how you got started on your healing journey. Like, how did this all come about for you?
Um, I chased, not, I'm not going to say I chased, but I fell in love early, like middle school, and went through the motions of that for 10 years. And just the process of becoming a mother, learning life, living life. But I would really say the start of it would have been, I had postpartum depression, which led me to go in and put myself on medication. And I'm not a medicinal type person. So once I started taking the medicine, I didn't like how I felt without the medicine, but I for sure did not like how I felt with the medicine. And it just pushed me back to God, to praying for him to just take me, whatever it was that was holding me and had that hold over me, to just take it. And then my dad passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. But I'm not going to say, with time, you heal. And I feel like my dad had to pass for me to live my life, because he sheltered me, he spoiled me, and I wasn't able to really figure out things for myself with him being alive. So once he passed, I had to, learn a lot of stuff that I didn't have to learn at first. And that pushed me into my spiritual journey, because I felt him. Even though he was gone, I felt him. Like, I remember for his birthday, we released some balloons, and the balloons got caught on the light pole. Those balloons stayed on that light pole for 2 weeks with air in them. And every time I went outside, I would look to see if they was there, because, light balloons, 1-2 days, that's it. They flat, you don't see them. They were still there. And every day I just say, you here with me. He was giving me the strength to continue on, because when he passed away, I felt like my life had fell apart.
Yeah,
I had
of course.
2 young boys. I have three sons altogether now, but at that time I only had 2. And I had when my dad passed away, it pushed me to leave the relationship with their father. So it was tower moments. It was tower moment on top of tower moment. And just praying every day, talking to God, asking him to heal me, let me be okay, not just for myself, but for my children at that time. Pushed me into my self-love journey first, which led me to crystals. And from there, you slack off, you get back on,
It's a journey.
A true journey. I slacked off. Well, I started with the self-love journey, and I got to the point to where I had put that love back into myself. But because I hadn't fully let go of my past, I went back. And when I went back, it took me off my path. So went through there. That. Yeah.
Several times.
Several times until I got pregnant with my last baby. And it's not, I always say stuff is crazy, but now knowing what I know, it's not crazy, because it all happens for a reason. It's all purposeful. But my baby and my second little boy, they're 4 years apart. So at that point, I was done with, I was like, look, my baby is 4. I'm finally out of that diaper and that always on the constant watch stage.
Yep.
But God had other plans. My grandfather ended up dying. My dad died and passed away in 2020. And then my grandfather passed away in 2021.
Wow.
So I ended up getting pregnant, and he was sent to me from my grandpa and my dad because I was so broken. Love that I felt from them had to, it was gone, and I was struggling really, really hard to just love me. And I split. Me and their dad had got back together. I split with their dad while I was 6 months pregnant with my youngest baby because I just could not do it anymore. I was tired. I was like, I have to get back. If I can't love myself, I can't love my children.
That's
My
right.
children deserve to see me happy, and I started realizing that trying to stay in the relationship for the sake of my children wasn't helping. A lot of times we feel like, oh, we have to stay because we don't want our kids to grow up in a split home. But I realized that we were damaging our children more by trying to stay together, knowing that I wasn't happy. I don't really know how he felt at that time, but I knew that deep down I wasn't happy, and I was just trying to make things work, make things be. So I went through that, and that's where my strength came in.
Yes, it sounds like it, this beginning, first of all, we just kicked through the gate, raw, real, honest spirit. Like
yes.
your story is so touching, moving, and as you're telling the journey, I'm like, yeah, this is the story and the journey of a healer, because we have to go through a tremendous amount of stuff in the beginning. And when you talk about your three boys, losing your dad and your granddad, and you talk about the three boys that God gave you, they little boys right now, but they're going to be men, your protectors, they're going to watch over you, always going to love mama. And how the evolution process of your story from 2020 to 24 is amazing. And then how you have worked on yourself throughout all of that, to know that I got to love myself to be here for these boys. I got to show these boys a different way of life. I've got to trust God. I love how you talk about God as well, because a lot of times people think that we as spiritualists don't incorporate and include God. And that's not true, honey. We need to be connected to source, source energy, and also expressing that divine essence, really tapping into all of God. So your story is powerful, girl, like already. And you're young, I can see that. I can hear that. That's why I was like, yeah, this is a healer's journey right here. Yeah.
And that's how I know, like, this is just the beginning. Like, to say that, to me, I look back over everything, I'll be like, I've been through a lot. This has been a long journey. But the long part of it is the healing of myself. The realizing that we are human. We make mistakes. We might go back forward, but it's all a part of the journey. And for a long time, I beat myself up for it because I just couldn't see how, I just couldn't see how I knew better, but I wasn't doing better, know. But that's where the human part of us comes in, because we make mistakes. And I had to learn to forgive myself for the mistakes that I had made in life, but also for my personal journey. So forgiveness is a big thing for me, because that's what helps softens the heart,
right,
to be able to heal. Because as long as you hold on to the hurt and the things or whatever that people have done to you, what hurts, I think, the most is for a lot of us healers is that because we know the things we went through, we don't deserve it. You know, we know our heart is too big. We give too much, you know, because I'll see a stranger, they need something. If I have it, I don't care if it's my last, because I know God's going to provide for me.
Yeah.
I know as much as I give, God, I'm going to receive. And that's what I try, and especially now, you know, that I'm where I'm at now in my journey, I try to tackle it right then and there. You know, I don't let it sit on my heart. I don't let, you know, the negative thoughts or the negative energy sit, which helps me move forward because I'm still healing from a lot from my past.
Yeah.
So allowing myself not to add on to my everyday hurt or things that I might be going through, it helps keep me moving forward. But also truth, living in my truth is the basis of me. This is where my healing comes from. The basis of me being honest with myself so that I can be honest with the people that I'm putting their lives to help them. So when I'm helping, doing a session with someone, you know, and I tell them what I've been through. Yeah. Because so they can see that, look, you might be going through this, but you're not the only one. You're not the first, and you're not the last. But it's about how we get through it. It's about how we get through it, you know. And I say a lot of times we get stuck because, like I said, we know better, but we don't do better. And that's the difference. That's what makes the difference.
Yeah. And I'm going to take it a step further too. A lot of times when we're going through this stuff and we don't know why, or a lot of it has to do with ancestral trauma. So a lot of us came here to take on the brunt of that. Like I said in another episode, I was like, I went through a lot of stuff, but I thought about it after I got through it. If I had to go through all of that so my daughters didn't have to go through it, I'd do it all over again.
Right.
You know, and we came for this assignment because our spirit could handle it. And you got a whole spirit team that's like, look, we got you. It's gonna seem like you want to die sometimes, but you're gonna get through that on the other side, and life is gonna be beautiful, and you get to show your boys a whole nother way where life ain't a struggle for them. You know?
And that, you know, when I had my first little boy, me and his dad, I would always tell his dad, you know, like we got together very young, teenagers. So, you know, we shared all our dreams with each other, you know, where we wanted to be and how we wanted things to be for our kids. And we both had a traumatic life growing up. So, you know, I would tell him, you know, I don't want my kids to grow up like I did. But also the generational trauma follows us also. Right. And I found myself putting my kids through some of the same things that I went through growing up. And
speak now, because a lot of times people don't want to talk about that part too. And that's because we don't know better. Before we know better, we end up, you know, exhibiting some behaviors. I said the same thing recently, and it's not the most pleasant thing to look on, but at the same time, it helps other people. And the fact that you're aware of it allows you to break the cycle. That's when you get to say, wait a minute, I got to change this. Somebody got to stop this, you know? Yes.
And, you know, it was a struggle with my first two, because not only is that ancestral trauma and that generational trauma there, but then we have the trauma from us being children and growing up how we grew up. So at the same time of trying to do things different, we're still navigating from a place of that's all we know.
And hurt and wounded. Yes. So it's like you gotta focus on you first before you can pour, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. You gotta fill up your cup first. And then you can start to pour for other people.
And that's when my last little boy came in, I had done so much internal work, just loving myself and understanding where I was in life, how I got to where I was in life, and the fact that I knew I had put my other two children through what I didn't want to put them through. He was my, this stops here. That he was my, okay, now you either gonna do what you need to do to change and give them the life that you want for them, or continue to stay stuck and trying to figure it out. That's where my strength came in at, because I let go of codependency. I found my inner strength after I went from being in a 10-year relationship to being by myself with 2 children and being pregnant.
Yeah.
So it was heartbreaking, but it was it was heartbreaking, but it was so fulfilling, because when I started seeing me work through things that I never thought I could work through by myself, I was like, oh, I got this. I was like, just keep.
That's so beautiful.
I'm Dory. Just keep swimming. Just keep.
Yeah, that's cute. You know what? I love that. Your story is so strong. Like, you can help a lot of young women in particular. That's what I see. The fact that you had enough inner strength to say, hey, come on, kids. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to make it. We're going to trust on God. I'm going to keep working on me, and it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Like, and so fast forward, because you sound like you've done a lot of work. Like, how has that changed the dynamics with your children today? Like, how is life today since you incorporate healing into your life?
Way better. I find that my children are more open. I allowed them to be more open with me, and anyone else around us, honestly. Like, a lot of my family don't agree with the way
that gentle parenting
that I that I handle my children, but and I don't look at, like, I don't think that gentle parenting is really the correct word for it, but I don't know the word yet. Spirit gave me the word for it, but I think it's more of just allowing them. We allow our children now. We are more open to allowing our children to be children.
That's true.
We are allowing our children to express themselves, to have a voice, because we realize that they are human and they have to grow up and be adults one day. Generational trauma runs so deep with that, because I'm very outspoken, always have been. But growing up, I was called disrespectful.
Right.
I was told that I talk too much. I was told that, so it shut me from using my voice. So when I was uncomfortable, I did not speak up. When I didn't feel right, I did not. Now, my children, I allow them that, because let me know.
Right.
Because if you feel something, you feel it, and we have to find a way to work through that. We have to see what it is and what it is not, so we can navigate why you are feeling the way you are feeling.
Right.
Me and my boys, like, that mom, I don't have any daughters. I have all boys. So, but I feel like God gave me my boys because of the love that boys have for their mother.
That's true.
And that is what I needed so much of. And I didn't realize at the beginning. My boys are very in touch with their emotions, because I'm grateful that by the time that they got to that age to understand their feelings I was where I was at.
Yes.
So, because I remember like my second baby, he's a Cancer, he's a water sign like myself.
And he's a
And
sensitive one.
very sensitive, very loving,
Yep.
very compassionate, you know. And growing up, I didn't have that. Throughout my life, I was, because of the things I had went through, I had come from that. So like being up under me and stuff, I wasn't comfortable with for a while. Him being up under me, or like just he would come up to me out the blue and want to hug me, want to lay on me. And because I was still working through the trauma that I had, I would push him off. I would be like, not today, like, real edgy about it. And then as I don't know, all I can say is just God was working on me in the midst of it, because it was like one day my eyes just opened and was like, don't do that to you, because not only does he need it, but you need it. It might feel uncomfortable, but you need that love. That's what you're missing. And when I started realizing that, I didn't want to push that onto my child, because that's starting generational trauma
It
all
is.
over again.
Yeah, and it's such a slippery slope. Like you said, if we don't deal with our stuff, then we end up with unconsciously passing it on, and I think that's amazing. That's amazing, like the work that you're doing with yourself and your children, and allowing them to be who they are,
Yeah.
these spirits return, who they are, without trying to shut them down or mold them into something else. And and there's nothing wrong with being loving. There's nothing wrong with being vulnerable. Society, if in a healthy way, that's the thing. Like if you're doing it at home and you're doing it in a healthy manner, then you know the difference between what's the right way and what's not the right way,
Yeah.
because that's how you end up going out there and doing things inappropriately and out of turn, because nobody ever gave that or showed that
Yeah.
to you.
And that's that's how I was raised. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I went looking for. And that's what, set me to where my path was. But my kids gave me the love that I didn't know I needed at that time. As
Yeah.
while I was pushing it away, God was like, it's here. You either gonna accept it, or
The cycle
the
continues.
cycle continues. And I always said that I don't want my children to grow up the way that I grew up. I always said that I wasn't going to allow my children to grow up the way that I grew up, because I'm a loving person. But
Right.
being, sometimes we are born into the families we are born into for a reason. But I think conditioning has a lot to do with it also, conditioning of the world. And our homes are our safe places.
Yes.
So if my home is not a safe place for my child, where does he have to go?
That's so true. That is so true. That's how people end up going to the streets. That's how people end up getting in gangs. That's how people end up getting in messed up relationships, bad friendships, all of that. You are so right on the money. And
Yes.
them boys gonna love you so much. I know they do already, but like when
Girl.
they grown, when they realize what exactly it is mama did and she's doing, oh my God.
You know what amazes me with my boys is the fact that for so long I wanted people to see me. I changed my hair, see me. I do my nails a different, see me. Baby, when I tell you, there's nothing I cannot change about myself without my boys being like, what you did to your hair? You changed your hair? Mommy, you got your nails done? Mommy, you did this.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it. They watching mama.
And that lets that they pay attention to me.
Yes.
And I accept it. At first I couldn't, because I was dealing with what I was dealing with. But when I started to understand that this is what I needed and that this is what God put them here for, it's refreshing, because now I kind of do it on purpose.
That's cute. I love it. I love it. I love what you're doing. Like, I love it. I just love to hear your story. I had no idea how this was gonna go, but like you said, spirit definitely led us together, and I'm just enjoying every minute of this. And so you talked about your healing journey. You talked about what you're doing and how it's affected you, breaking generational trauma in your own family, and how you're creating this happier, fuller, more expressive life for your boys. Something else I know you're passionate about, or you say a lot about, is that spirit, spirit, spirit. Tell me about your relationship with spirit, or your spirit guides, ancestors, and how they show up in your life.
Like, it's crazy, but it's not crazy. But, you know, when you have that connection to spirit, it's always been there.
Yep.
We just don't understand it because of the way we are raised, the way, or whatever the case may be. But I always knew, like, from, I don't know, it's just something about us that stands out no matter what, from young children. And I always knew that I was different. I always knew that I could hear what I couldn't explain.
Yes.
I knew that I could always say what I really did not know, but I knew.
Right.
And for a long time, it scared me. Not even scared me, but it scared me. But
well, society will make you seem like that's
and
some sort of, you ain't supposed to be doing that,
okay.
Between church and witchcraft and all of this other stuff. They make it seem like you're possessed by something else
And
other than.
Society pushed me to, weird. Let's go with what society would call it.
That too.
Okay, so matter of fact, I had posted a thread on this not too long ago, and I was like, if you've ever healed, I always noticed that I healed fast, like cuts, scrapes, bruises. I always healed fast. I always was attracted to like spiritual things, as such as I don't want to say spirits again, but you see the little lights in the side of your eye, or at night you might see a white shadow walking through the hall or something. And that was always there for me. But I couldn't speak on it because
right,
I wasn't going to be called crazy.
Right.
So I just internalized it for a long time. But when my dad passed away, I really had no choice but to acknowledge that I knew what was there all along. Because, you hear people say, oh, he's gone, they're gone, but they're still with you. Physically, we hear that and we think of, they just saying that to make me feel better. But when you have that connection to spirit, you understand that, no, they're not here with you physically.
They're always here.
But they're always here. They're around you. And my dad, so both of my parents have passed over.
Oh, wow.
Me and my mom, relationship was very strained, always. But even after she passed, she had on Earth, she had a connection to butterflies. After she passed in late spring. When I tell you, I would see butterflies constantly. That let me know that she was there.
Right.
But as each person, those are the only 3 people that I have that has passed over that have really been like immediate family to me. My mom passed first, my dad second, my grandpa third.
Wow, girl.
And just with each passing, my spiritual team grew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really didn't have a choice but to acknowledge
Wow.
that they are there, you know.
They are there. And
live.
yes, and they just became, they were ancestors returned and they became ancestors again. And that's what
Yes.
ancestors do. They assist us on the journey of life. They don't tell us what to do, but they're here to guide us, here to help us, here to comfort us, you know, and definitely they working with you, obviously. And I love that. You know, your story is so powerful, you know, so powerful. You're going to be able to help so many people. I feel that, I know that. You're a true healer. Because why? Because you've done the work, because you've done the work, because you've overcome a lot of pain and a lot of trauma. That's what makes you uniquely qualified. Some people think you got to get a life coaching certification or some sort of a, no, that's not how real this
No,
work really
this
works.
natural.
It's natural. This is natural. I mean, you may learn how to do certain techniques and rituals and practices and stuff like that. And eventually on your journey, I'm sure you will come across somebody where you want to learn something. You know, herbs may be calling you and you need a little study with that, you know, because that ain't something you could just pick up and know. But
I'm in the process of opening and starting my herbal holistic shop. After crystals, after I was drawn to crystals for self-love, I don't know. I am about getting back to our roots.
Yes, honey. All right now. I live that. I walk that. I breathe that.
That is where we start. And I mean, figuratively and literally, you know, because that's like what the pharma companies and the medicine.
Yes.
I've never been a medicine taker.
Me either.
Can't stand it. So as I got older, you know, my train of thought would be like, okay, well, what was used before?
Yeah, because everything is derived from a plant first. It's when they put the man-made stuff up in there is when it, you know, that's when it becomes something else.
Exactly.
A chemistry concoction.
You know, you're adding stuff that really doesn't need to be added.
Well, that's how people have side effects like death, or they need something else for the side effect.
Or you're giving me 2-3 things that you telling me this is working for this, and then you give me something else that counteracts this.
Right. Or, and if you don't have insurance, we ain't giving you nothing at all, or telling you what plant we got it from. Yeah.
I'm gonna go out there in the field and pick me and find something. Right. But that, like, as a teenager, so you know, like, spirit has been laying the foundation for me on my path since I was a teenager. And we don't realize it because we're so into our day-to-day physical lives. But that's just me. Like, I think about how much longer they lived back then, our ancestors lived, because they were living off the land. They were living off of what God gave them to live off of. And after my dad passed, and so this after my dad passed, that's what helped me start healing also. I started making my own Epsom salt spiritual baths.
Yes.
I didn't know they were called spiritual baths at that time, but I had started looking into the different herbs and things, and you know, I was like, okay, let me put this with some.
Put a little this in there, a little bit of that. My ancestors love that. Just a little pinch of that. Get you some of that too.
And when I would take these baths with these jars, with these mixtures I made, when I tell you, I would feel the weight come off me. My head would be clearer, this would happen. And I was just like, it really helped push me into healing, because then I was like, okay, well, if this is doing this, what if I put it with this?
Yep.
So that led me to teas and doing herbal, just making my own herbal infused teas. And I started making the jars in the little town I was staying in. I promoted for a little bit. I sold a few. I gave away a few. And then we went back, so
That's okay. It's a
that took the
journey.
back burner.
It's like the plant-based journey. You do it several times before you get on it.
But it's also that foundation building.
Right.
Spirit is laying your foundation for the future, but they have to do it in bits and pieces for you to get where you're going.
That's right.
Just this year, matter of fact, it's September. July of this year is really when everything took off for me, because I moved out of the little bitty town I grew up in, and I kept going. I left, 3-4 times, but I always went back. And financially, emotionally, you get to this point to where you're at, you're just like, this is not big enough for me.
Right.
I need something bigger. I need something where I can spread my wings and see what the world has for me. So throughout the year, beginning of the year, I just kept having this longing of somewhere bigger. And I had to wait for my kids to finish school and everything. So I did. And then after that, I was like, oh, we got to go. Because I can't get to where I need to be here. I'm too confined. It's too small. They got small minds.
Right.
A lot of people aren't ready for what I have to offer, So, for 2-3 months, I just asked Spirit to lead me where I'm supposed to go, lead me. Because so many times we just jump up and go.
That's so
without
true.
having that direction. And then when we get there, things don't go as smoothly because there was no direction from the beginning.
Oh my God, I did that. I ended up moving to Atlanta like that. I hurry up and got my butt back to Florida.
And
I was like, oh yeah, this spirit had nothing to do with that.
I went back to my hometown 3-4 times off of just, whatever I was going through at that moment, it was too much, so I'm gone. But this last time I did it the correct way. I let Spirit lead me. Like when I tell you, I would sit up at night crying because I'm like, Spirit, like, I know there has to be somewhere else where you need me to be, because this is not it for me. And Spirit led me to where I needed to be. And when you let Spirit lead you,
yes, honey,
it doesn't matter. Everything is going to work how it's supposed to work.
That's right.
You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. And that's where that leap of faith comes in at. Yep. And Spirit told me where to go. All I did what I needed to do to prepare myself for that move. But when I moved, I had a plan, but I really didn't have a plan. All I know is what Spirit told me to do. And that's what I did. And when I tell you, job fell through, this fell through, and then not only that, but on my spiritual journey, everything just like,
wow, yeah, much faster.
Yes. So that let me know that I was where I needed to be. I was where I was supposed to be. Yes. And everything that has happened, when I tell you, it's like I've been in a time warp since July. But it's not one of those time warps where you're like, what happened?
No,
You
it's
know,
like
like
it reminds me of when I was going through that phase where I had learned so much in 6 months that it was like I can't even describe it. Like you said, I had like my DNA was being activated. It was download after download. It was like, we got to catch you up. Like, and it was like, boom,
yes,
you look back and it's like, how the world did I know all of this? And it was just like, just activating, spirit activated. All of it's necessary. The spiritual baths, the meditation, the yoga, all of that's prepping your physical body in this environment in the 3D to reconnect to your spirit self and source and nature and spirits and then yeah,
yes,
you get way
girl.
more energy than the average person who just going to work or to the grocery store and back home every day. And so
Glad you
yes.
said that because, girl, I go to work and I work overnight.
Mhm.
But I go to work and in the morning I expect to be tired. I expect to be ready to just pass out for the day. But spirit won't allow me.
Spirit's like, hey, you up? They say you ain't in the
Spirit's
human
like,
body. You're not in the human body right now.
Spirit's like, you got work to do. Like, look, I know you just got off from your physical job, but now it's time to start this other job. And
Working
it's
on
gonna be
you.
okay. We're gonna work through it. We're gonna get you through it. And it's like, I'm more tired in my physical job than
Hmm.
I'm tired in my spiritual job.
For sure, because that elevates us and our frequency to something other than human. You dealing around a bunch of unconscious humans is draining, unless you're doing your protections and stuff like that. But you ain't got nobody to talk to, ain't nobody on the same vibe as you. You just be sitting here like thinking to yourself, why am I doing this? Like with the life.
Look, I was like, especially when you're in that time warp phase where
Hmm.
your gifts are coming in, you getting all
Yes.
these downloads, you getting all this information, and then you have to go into these facilities or these buildings and you kind of have to stop your spiritual
Hmm.
ascension because you have to focus on what's in front of you.
Right.
So that was something I had to learn to deal with. I thank God spirit puts people in your life when and where and how you need them.
That's right.
And he did that. God did that for me. He did that for me because going into and it's crazy, but it's not crazy. But what's crazy is that this was I would say within the last month and a half, almost 2 months, because that's how long I've been on Threads. When
Hmm.
I got, but you know what? Spirit had been calling me to go to Threads.
I
So
know. Same
I was like,
thing.
no,
Y'all sleeping on
no,
threads if y'all not on threads. That's
no.
that's where I got all these great speakers from.
Okay. If you want something to touch your mind, your
Hmm.
heart, your spirit, Threads is the place to be
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of us too going through life, we know we're not alone, but because of our family and how we have to be raised, we feel so alone.
Right.
And Threads is the place for us to find that community,
Yep.
to say, oh, okay, you had that too.
Right.
Or you
And it
going
seems to be a supportive, collaborative community. It's not all about influencers and numbers. It's about people who want to find a people.
and
Like you,
nobody's judging you. Oh, you
right.
believe in mermaids? Oh, you
Right.
believe in it's none of that. And it's like a home. It's
Hmm.
like, and I'm so happy. I'm so glad. Like I love Threads. I really do. Because I learned so much. Not only do I learn so much, but I can speak my mind freely
Hmm.
and reach people that actually want to be reached.
Right.
Because a lot of times we find ourselves, our physical family, our physical friends, you can't talk to them about the
Yeah.
stuff that we talk about.
Yes, honey. I just did a podcast episode on that. The spiritual life is a lonely life, honey.
Yes.
And the higher up you go, oh my gosh, like, and
And
then
that's
yeah.
And when I first got on Threads, my thing, well, not even my thing, but Spirit was on me about how this is what this is for, to build our community. This is for us to find our tribes, for us to be able to connect, not just near but far, because the world as we know it,
yes, come on now,
it's not going to be that.
No, honey, 25, we're looking at it. And here's the thing, certain people or certain spirits that have returned are getting these downloads, because you're not the only one to say it. I say the same thing. There's another sis I know, and that's what we're doing. We're gathering. We're like getting busy with, it's like, okay, all of this stuff, you know, that we taught you, that you working on, time to get to work.
And you know
vacation
what?
over, y'all.
For us, we see it because we are who we are.
Yes.
But to the physical ones, they don't see it like that. But just think about it. Why all of a sudden everyone is buying compounds? A lot of people are wanting to put their whole family on one land. Why is that? Why is that? Because something is about to happen.
Yes, honey.
And it's best to keep your loved ones close.
Right.
And that's just like with a lot of people going back to gardening.
Yes.
People going back to planting their own fruits, and because this is what it's going to be.
Well, and at the same time, you got all of these recalls and bacterias and stuff being found. You ain't nothing real out there to eat from the store. I don't trust nothing.
They're trying to kill us. You're trying to kill us.
They are. Like, they trying to send you right on over there to Big Pharma.
Look,
and and they like that, and just distract you and put you to sleep with some, matrix mind altering, nonsense. And the violence is crazy on this planet, everything.
Yes, very much so. To get into, I don't eat fast food a lot. I rather home cooked meal.
Yes.
But because of my job, if I don't get to cook and meal prep, I tend to just go ahead and go for fast food. But I try to go for the fresher fast food, like Church's Chicken and stuff like that. But they done made me upset because I fell in love with their biscuits.
They done messed the biscuits up.
and with the honey. Okay? Because I remember growing up when I was
right, when food was real somewhat.
Okay. And even the honey pack said honey. I go to look at this honey pack and it says honey sauce. I said, what is this? Because
what is that?
Too high for y'all now?
Yeah. Honey ain't cheap no more either. Yeah.
But you can pay for other things.
Oh, of course, they can get a discount to kill you.
It's too much to put real, organic, healthy, beneficial things into the world for everyday consumption and everyday use. That bothers me.
Yeah.
That bothers me. And for so many people to be blind,
oh my God,
to it bothers it bothers me, and it hurts me because I see how many people are going to lose themselves to it.
Yep.
And it's like, when are we going to step out of this programming and really open? Because they show us every day.
Well, it's no longer, we're past the we trying to rally everybody and trying to get them on the team. It's too late for that. It's those who ready, and if you ain't, we just let them sleep.
We gotta let
let you sleep peaceably. We don't want to mess you up. But those who are willing and ready to do something different, those are the people we're going after. You know what, Renee, girl, I could talk to you like a whole nother hour. This was a phenomenal episode. Like, you really inspire me, just to know that there's people out here that's really doing the work, you know what I'm saying? Not just on Instagram and just posting stuff, but like really doing this inner work, healing yourself, healing your family, which is the most impactful thing you can do in your lifetime. And now get into a place where you're working with other people and you're starting to heal them too through your experience. That's why I talk about taking that trauma and turning it into empowerment. Not being a victim, but like, breaking the cycle. We
Yes.
healing what we healing at home. Now let me show somebody else how to do it, how
Yes.
I did it. Cause then that's why I
Walk
say
in your
not.
power.
Yes, not everybody can go to therapy. I'm not against therapy. Therapy is, if you can do that and you can make it there, please by all means incorporate that. But some people cannot.
Yeah.
Um, and they
I am
still
one of
need the
those people.
healing. Yes, hello. That's what I be saying. People be like, "Oh, you're not a therapist." I'm like, "Look, in my community,
Like,
everybody can't get a therapist. Everybody don't have insurance. Everybody don't have a job where they can afford the insurance." Okay, it's like I hate even having to explain that, but this is why I do it. But one thing we do know is trauma.
yeah,
We know
yeah,
trauma,
very
you
much
know.
so.
Yeah, so that's why I do what I do. But I definitely want to hear more from you. I want to see more from you. Tell my audience, like, how can we find you, and like, what do you have going on in your businesses? I know you told us about the herbs coming up. Tell us what you got coming up in the future.
I have I'm on all social platforms, Snapchat, Facebook, Renee Jennings, Instagram, Threads is at underscore success is me.
Okay.
Um, Business wise, I am in the process. Like I say, I have the herbal holistic shop coming in. Give me probably to the end of the year. We're gonna have that up and running.
Mhm.
Um, I also do. I'm also in the process of beginning a spiritual mentorship for
Yes.
the ladies, mostly mothers, young mothers
Yes.
who are coming out of something traumatic or just wanting to try and heal from their childhood.
Mhm.
Um, I just want to let spirit use me to help heal, because getting through those times without, and I don't want to say I didn't have anyone, but I did it alone, you know.
Yeah.
And
You didn't have any physical help, like
yeah,
physical people.
yeah,
I know how that feels.
to
Yeah.
guide me, and to say, hey, look, I get what you're going through. I
Yes.
understand it. Here's what you can do, and I'm thankful because just yesterday, well, actually not, but I have this one girl who um allowed me, who has been allowing me to help her. And it didn't even start off as that. But because spirit knows where you need to be and who you
Mhm.
are there to help, um, I've been able to help her just within the last few days. And that's my reward. Like,
Yeah.
to know that people are able to take what I tell them or what spirit is telling them through me, and the suggestions that I give them from what I've been through personally, and to see within days, literally within days, a change in them.
Hmm. That's hope, man. For people who don't know what to do and how to get out of that pain, and then have somebody offer them a solution like that, that's hope. Now they starting to think, man, maybe I can get through this. Maybe I can get on the other side. Like maybe it can get better.
Girl,
That's beautiful. And
I
that's
do.
God using you.
And he for a long time I shied away from it because, like we said, self-doubt,
Hmm.
but now that I am healing the deeper things, the deeper traumas, I'm starting to be able to truly walk in my truth and walk in
Yeah.
my power. So, I have I can't even tell you how much I have spirit has planned.
Yes, yes. All
I
I can say is y'all got to follow her. Make sure y'all follow her. I'm going to have all that information down in the description where you can follow her. You definitely want to keep up with this young sister and see where she is going, because I know she's going to help a lot of women. I know she's going to help other women to break generational curses and to be able to heal themselves. You know, we need that in our community. I think everybody agrees with that.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Renee. I really appreciated you. This has been a real phenomenal episode. I was in for a treat. I didn't have no notes this time. Like you said, let's just let spirit lead. And I'm glad I did,
Did you read
because
my message on
I
Instagram?
did. I read that, but honey, like I told you, I was running around here doing all kind of other stuff, and I was like, oh man. And then something just was like, just sit down and do it.
Because
And
I
I,
was the same way. All
yeah.
week, I was like, maybe I need to sit down and write a list. But Spirit never sat me down to write that list.
Usually I do like maybe 5 questions off a person bio or something, but I was like, this time something was just like, just sit down and just do it. And I was like, okay, like I listened to spirit too. And I'm like, okay, all right, and to have met you, it was a true honor, because I know spirit to spirit, definitely you're an old soul. You've been here. You are a higher evolved soul. You are one of the change makers and where we're going. So it was an honor to sit down with you, spirit to spirit. And like I said, I can't wait to see what you do next. And I know that we'll probably do something in the future and be like, remember that time?
Yes, ma'am.
We were sitting
Yes.
on doing that little cheesy podcast. We're gonna be on the couch and everything with, your teas and everything. So
Girl, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I do see us networking again in the future. I love your energy. I thank you for being you and allowing your space, allowing us into your space and to use your space to be ourselves
yes.
and be comfortable enough to speak our truth, because that's hard for us.
Yeah.
And to have someone who we can naturally just talk to and let whatever needs to come out comes out doesn't happen often.
That's true. That's true, because I sure know how to shut down if the energy ain't right.
Yes.
I
So
won't say nothing.
thank you. Thank you for, like I say, people, spirit puts people in your life and on your
Mhm.
path when you need them. So I thank you for this opportunity,
Oh, you're welcome. Thank
because
you.
I just know spirit's like, girl, you don't even know the half. Like,
Wait till you hear yourself back. You're gonna be like, oh my God.
I
Like
don't think I'm ready. I don't
you
think
gonna hear yourself back. Yep. Yeah, no doubt. So thank you once again for being on the show, and I will see you around in
Yes,
the
ma'am.
thread streets.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.